Economia partidei, Delgado, acolo este, va fi corner, dragi ascultători.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Shinya Tsutomuko. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. Shinya Tsutomuko. All right, okay. Loz, hello and welcome back to It Ain't Broke. I have a pan-dimensional Duncan that's come to join me today in lieu of your usual Duncan for a second black and white episode about weird stuff or dreary stuff or kind of scary stuff. That's our little block here.
Completely batshit stuff in this.
Yes, batshit stuff indeed, yeah. So today we're talking about Shinya Tsukamoto's 1989 surrealist body horror film, Tetsuo Ironman. Now, we're trying to do thematic set dressing today.
Yeah. We don't have any metal.
Nah. Everything in my shed is a bit like a sort of secret level from Silent Hill, which is not quite, it's not cyberpunk enough.
Yeah, we needed like rebar and wires. And
exactly, precisely. So there you go. So anyway, I have never seen this film, and which we talked about just before we rolled. I was really into Japanese cinema as a teenager, and this film is absolutely a film studies wet dream, and it must have been somewhere on my film studies course, but I didn't watch it. I used to go to the world cinema section at the many branches of Choices Video that were around, and I used to always get like Takashi Miike or Takeshi Kitano movies out from there. Hideo Nakata and whatever, and I never got this one. I physically never picked it up, so I never watched it at all until last night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a pretty sort of similar boat. Like, it was something I was aware of for years because, you know, if you're into sort of slightly weird movies, it's just something that always crops up, but I just never got around to watching it for whatever reason. I ended up watching it a couple of months ago, mainly because I bought an album by a weird Russian technical slam death metal band.
Of course you
which
did.
Which was based around Tetsuo, so the cover art and loads of the songs were, and had samples and stuff in it. I thought, well, maybe I should actually check it out. So I watched it, and then having watched it, I messaged you and was like, we should totally do this because it's just insane.
I didn't realise it was so fresh.
Yeah, no, it was I only watched it like a couple of months ago.
Because I feel like a lot of our audience have already seen this.
They probably have. They probably know it better than we do, but we're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about this. Take this as talk about it with authority. We'll take this as a fresh perspective. I will say, so I noticed this one knocking about the video shop for years, and Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer, which I keep accidentally calling it that. And I think I even said on the stream the other day, we're doing Tetsuo Body Hammer, and we're not.
Yeah.
We're doing.
But it's a better title, isn't it? Body Hammer.
Body Hammer is a great
Body
title.
Hammer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fucking body, well fucking metal. So where to start with this? There is a lot going on here. I enjoyed it a lot. It's about an hour. You can watch it on YouTube now. So if some films might not be available to you if you want to go away and watch it on YouTube. The one on YouTube that's watchable does not have English subtitles. It has Spanish subtitles, but I've read the kind of plot synopsis, and there's not much dialogue in it, and as I understand it, the dialogue isn't terribly important to the experience.
No, I mean, I just
understand what I was saying.
There you go, I saved you from typing that. So
yeah, the dialogue's minimal, like you say, and to be fair, like you say, it's a surrealist movie, so. It's if you check out the plot synopsis, maybe that'll just give you a better idea of what's supposed to be happening. But
it pretty much lined up with what I thought was going on.
Yeah,
and
it's not a complex plot.
No, exactly, and because it's not really about the writing on the plot, is it? It's
No.
a visual. It's kind of a visualist film. It's particularly. I mean, where to start? Like, there's very kind of special effects heavy.
Yeah.
Because it's about a body transformation, right? So it's about a man who it opens on a man inserting metal into his body and freaks out when he finds that that's kind of started to rot, gangrene.
It's called the metal fetishist.
The metal
or the
fetishist.
guy he's also referred to.
Yes, it's the story about the metal fetishist and the salaryman.
Yeah.
The guy is putting metal in his body. He finds it's rotten. There's maggots in it. He runs out to the street. And the salaryman runs him over. The salaryman is your kind of button-down Japanese salaryman guy. Yeah. Very straight cut, kind of glasses and hair and suit, and he slowly starts to his body starts to transform into iron, and he becomes this kind of cyborg sort of monster.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this kind of psychosexual sort of world in opposites, kind of villainous.
And at some point, somehow the metal fetishist sort of returns,
Yes.
having also transformed.
Yes.
and they end up kind of dueling.
They become kind of enemies, yeah. Which is kind of that, even though it's not to that scale, the way that's covered, like the fight, feels a lot like a sort of kaiju movie, without wanting to be lazy.
Yeah.
It feels like a lazy comparison, but those kind of costumes and things, because by the time the salaryman is really transformed, it's like this huge costume. You know, when he becomes Locutus of Borg.
Yeah, and then I feel like there's a lot of kind of manga influence in this as well. So particularly the fights will have that kind of where they're not actually directly seeing kind of dueling. You'll see one of them and he's going like this or something, and then it's that kind of, you know, cutting back and forth between them. They're supposed to be dueling. It's the same sort of thing you see in a lot of like old anime and stuff like that.
It's very hyperbolic, yeah. And even the metal fetishist comes out with this kind of wacky haircut. And stuff
he
when
looks
reappears
like something out of Dragon Ball Z or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that Tsutomoto specifically cites Lynch and Cronenberg as influences.
It's definitely got a massive David Lynch.
Lynch and Cronenberg, I think. There's a kind of the stillness of Lynch. Lynch's kind of penchant for kind of industrial soundtracks and music, which this film has. I can't remember the name of the composer.
No, it's a really, really good soundtrack though. If you like industrial music, it's fantastic. There's this kind of recurring theme that comes back that's just really sticks in your head. It's really...
Yeah, and and I was trying to think of kind of, so David Lynch, particularly in like Lost Highway, uses imagery of video feeds and screens, which is after this. You know, it's after this. But this film is very fixated on video screens and things like that. And it's a 60mm film. It's 4:3. It uses the televisual element, which is that in itself is very much like Videodrome. Videodrome is constantly about those screens. Yeah. The transformation with the kind of corrugated pipes. Do you remember when James Woods' fingers kind of extrude into his wrist? It's very similar to that. The whole concept of kind of unwitting transformations and stuff. And as a metaphor for kind of like sexual frustration and rage and stuff like that is all in there.
Which does kind of rear its head very explicitly at one point.
It rears its head a couple of times. So basically, the salaryman's penis turns into a big drill. Yeah, that's probably the most iconic. Yeah, and it's a huge kind of thing. And then when he's walking around later, he just has this drill cock that's there, and it's constantly whirring. So it's like that thing of like out of control sexuality and stuff.
And he sort of accidentally / on purpose kills his girlfriend with the drill dick. Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's almost implied that she kind of just impales herself on it. Yeah. But it's very weird. Yeah, well, I think, you know, and if you want to reach into that as kind of metaphorical for rape, or because it is really, it's a kind of type of rape and everything, and like all good surrealists, you know, when people ask, you just kind of go like, "Nah, mate, don't know what you're talking about," because that's what they all love to do, isn't it? It's like it's the automatic get out of jail free card. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just a drill dick. Isn't it? In L'Age d'Or, the Louis Buñuel movie, there's loads of like priests dragging a mule, which is, you know, beast of burden in the Catholic Church in Spain, and he's just like, "Nah, mate." Nah, mate, it's just what you don't know what you talk about, mate. It's a classic surrealist. And that's the thing. I mean, this does, without being too film studies, this does go back all the way back to kind of Louis Buñuel type stuff. It's classic surrealism. It's not the same style as those movies, but you know, there's a real visceral element to say in Shannon Deleu with like the eye being cut. And this does close-ups of eyeballs and things that are very reminiscent of that. Loads of kind of just general close-up imagery of kind of when the metal fetishist inserts that bit of like threaded bar into his leg, he's probably been cut out and he's shoved. It's very visceral, like sound design and screaming and stuff. And that's the thing. I think with the sound in this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to me like all the audio was dubbed over afterwards. Like I would expect, but you know, that's not. You can do synchronized sound with 60mm. Yeah. A lot of people don't, and for something like this, I don't really conceive that you would need to. Because no, I mean it doesn't detract, but you can definitely get that feel from it when you're watching it. I don't know. The dialogue's very minimal, and the main thing, you know, ADR's a bitch, but like the main thing you record on set is dialogue, and I don't think they have. I think the way they've worked, so it's mostly shot in the director's apartment. Yeah. So I mean, put it this way: if I was making this film, I wouldn't. No. And the sheer number and type of edits in this. Oh yeah. Because it uses stop motion photography. It uses loads of stop motion, loads of kind of puppetry, stuff like that. So there are different types of things. They do a kind of effect, a sort of time-lapse effect, a lot. When they're outside. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So when they're outside the apartment, people tend to move through the streets in this kind of accelerated sort of stop motion. Yeah, they don't move. They don't move at all. They just kind of go along in like increments.
So it's walk along shot, walk along shot. It's kind of like taking a hyperlapse.
Yeah.
And I read that he really hates Tokyo, the director.
Oh, really?
So like maybe because Tokyo is depicted as very nondescript and unfriendly.
It is. It kind of seems to be out in the suburbs as well, doesn't it? There's nothing of the kind of stereotypical Tokyo you'd expect. It's kind of all just in random streets somewhere.
Which is really great, right? Because
it is,
because it's the antidote. Because you always see the kind of steel and glass Tokyo and the kind of busy streets and stuff.
And in fact, the Metal Fest sort of hideout at the beginning is just kind of in the middle of some rundown like industrial area, isn't it? It's just some little scummy workshop where he's got all this.
It reminded me in fits and starts of Man Bites Dog. Only because it does lots of, and you could just say, well, that's just because it's black and white and shot on film, but it's because this has quite a number of shots that are handheld.
Yeah.
There's loads of, particularly the stuff at the beginning with the Metal Fetishist, it's really scrappy handheld documentary type stuff, and it's got that kind of grimy black and white look that Man Bites Dogs has, and it has this sort of same oppressive atmosphere as Man Bites Dog. Yeah. And something like Eraserhead. All very differently paced films, but this is like edits madness, screaming, shrieking, televisions, blood, guts.
There's definitely Eraserhead's definitely, you can tell was the influence on this for sure, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think, and you know what else? Like The Elephant Man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it really, if you look at it as him as a kind of this stricken, ill character.
That's really interesting. Actually, there's definitely what was the Elephant Man? 1984.
Yeah, a few good years before. It might have been as early as 82. I don't remember. I'm sorry, but it's before Body Hammer. All right.
I've got it in my head that it's 84.
I call it Body Hammer again.
Let's just call it.
It's just a great name. Body Hammer.
Everything. They should always be called Body Hammer.
There's a third film called Bullet Man, which Trent Reznor collaborated on the music for. And having watched this last night, I was like, yeah, Trent Reznor.
I think that has a partially or maybe entirely Western cast as well.
Is it now?
I watched the trailer for it.
Yeah. Oh right. Interesting.
I don't know if it was like a co-production.
Well, I didn't want to kind of throw down too hard into all that, having just watched this for the first time. No. There's Japanese cinema has kind of quite a rich history of surrealism as well. I mean, something like House, or Happy Katakari's, or Funky Forest, Big Man Japan. Those are more modern examples, but like I think because what a lot of what gets to us is kind of the Japanese gangster stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think sort of blokey twats want to watch Yakuza movies.
Yeah, that's true.
And the horror, J-horror was a big thing. And this is, would you call Eraserhead a horror movie?
Not really. I mean, it's horrific, I suppose, but it's not a horror.
It's not really a horror film, right? I mean, would you call this a horror movie?
No. Again, it's very much that's cut from that same sort of cloth, isn't it? But yeah, it's not. Yeah, again, it's a horrific film. It's not a horror film, but I think that's why it works. So I think if you did it as a horror film, it probably wouldn't quite have the same punch that this does. You know what I mean? And almost although the Metal Fest just returns, he's kind of the villain. Our main character is also the villain.
Yeah, he's not. Neither of them.
Neither of them. There's no relatable characters or sympathetic characters in this at all. It's just like one guy turning into metal and another guy turning into metal.
Yeah.
They both kill. They both maim. The salaryman starts off as a kind of victim, doesn't he? And then the way, I suppose the initial transformation, he just has a tiny piece of metal stick out of his face.
Yeah.
And then there's this scene in the subway where he's sat on a bench next to a woman who sees there's just kind of like a blob of like writhing metal and stuff on the floor, which she touches, and then that kind of attaches itself to her, and then there's a kind of a chase sequence through these back hallways and stuff into the toilets, which is one of the really great part of the film. I think I really
that chase
coming
bit's
after
quite
with this really manic look on her face. Like,
she's really good. Like,
she's great.
She's so expressive and stuff. And there's the scene with the kind of vacuum attachment dildo.
That bit is just bonkers. Like, because that's not part. I mean, although the whole thing is surreal, most of it is kind of it's kind of supposed to be happening at the time. But he has this weird vision of his girlfriend, and she's been painted some sort of colour, black and white, so you can't tell. And she's kind of dancing around with this vacuum cleaner.
Which is kind of like prehensile, right? It's kind of like articulated, and then they sort of do a penetration thing.
It's like Crichton's groinal attachment.
That's exactly right, yeah. That's exactly what I thought. Be whisking some eggs with it or something.
It's an odd bit of the film, because it's obviously not, I mean, I'm assuming that part's not meant to be actually happening.
Well, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Because it's so dreamlike.
Yeah.
The whole thing's got this kind of dreamlike vibe to it. Because it's not, like Mulholland Drive is very segmented into sort of the dreamy bit and then the kind of like the brutally sort of real bit.
Yeah, that's it. Because that happens, isn't it? And then they have sex while he's kind of still transforming a bit. And then he goes and cooks her some food. Yeah. And he's like feeding it to her. And every time she takes a bite, there's this noise of like scraping.
And when she's dead, he kind of, a pipe extrudes from his mouth and he sort of like pumps oil into her mouth and stuff. There's loads of imagery of penetration and stuff. It's got a whole sort of Freudian psychosexual
let's not get into that
thing. Yeah, that's film studies.
Nightmare.
Mate,
every film is
it's all Freud.
Bullshit.
It's all Freud. It's all Freud. Never goes into like Jung or anything. But yeah, it's and also, Cronenberg's easy pickings for this because it's like The Fly as well. You know what I mean? It's a man transforming in his flat essentially and sort of being mean to his girlfriend. And then the other character comes in, Videodrome as well. There's the obvious David Lynch stuff. I mean, it feels like this is the thing, because sitting and watching it, it's not really about the plot and stuff, and it's only an hour or so. Yeah. So it's not even as if it's lean as hell. Like, and I don't think necessarily you even have to infer a lot of meaning from it. I think it's kind of weirdly accessible just because there's a mood piece.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, this is what happens. Like, just enjoy it, and it's just kind of a crazy. It's almost like a music video. I don't want to say it.
No, but you're right though. You are, because I think it's got a real kind of MTV vibe to it, and I don't mean that in
the fast editing and the sort of just.
Yeah, and I don't mean that as an insult, because that's
not trying to make sense, is it? It's just like.
Yeah, and it's got a kind of A to B to C. Precisely, it's I read that there was a BFI. I read a BFI article about this when I was kind of looking it up, and they compared it to like an art installation, which it kind of is. Yeah. It's kind of. I don't have a problem at all with things being mood pieces, essentially, like something you put on to evoke a mood, and just the. This is just interesting in terms of sheer technique, because I think fast edits can go a couple of ways. I mean, something like the way Michael Bay fast cuts, I don't like. No. I find the way that something about that, and also Tony Scott stuff, I've never really got on with. Whereas this, I know what you mean. It's quick, but it's a bit more no nonsense, and because it's not in service of a plot about renegade cops or whatever,
it's just kind of it just accelerates the action, as it were. And obviously because they're working with such a limited budget, it really helps it because nothing's kind of on the screen for too long, looking too hokey. And although it has a weird, it definitely has, and like we're talking about with the scenes where they're sort of blasting along the road outside, it's obviously not even close to approximating real movement.
And that's full tilt surrealism.
Yeah,
that stuff, that's fine, experimental and everything. Yeah, I mean, I totally get it, and I just kind of think you don't need to sort of. It's definitely there as with most surrealist cinema, but you don't need to infer or imprint meaning on it. You could just watch it and enjoy it and be weirded out. Or it's not for everyone.
No, definitely.
I would not show this to my dad. He'd hate it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to screen this for pensioners unless they're really cool pensioners.
If they want to see two guys turning into metal, then merging into a giant metal dick at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
I didn't clock on the first way through, but I rewatched it and it's clearly.
So they fuse and then they tear through Tokyo as they have done with that stop motion effect, and it's not really till you see it from the back.
Yeah,
and I should say
obvious helmet.
Helmet. I was going to say I should say glands. I'm going to say bell end. It's just a massive bell end, and it's a huge. They merge into, and that's the thing. It's sort of like
it's kind of got an Uzi attached to his arm, isn't he? But it's
just he's got like an Uzi on like a rod.
Yeah,
and I don't know. It's just sort of like a confused angry male sexuality, right? And it slaps together.
It's a weird ending because they're battling up until that point, and once they fuse, I think the salary man says something like. He's just basically just a face mashed into the bottom. He's like, I feel great. Yeah. And then they just say, let's just go and destroy the world.
Yeah.
And then they zoom off.
They make peace, and then they
become a massive knob, and then go to just wreck shit.
And the salaryman just spews out loads of metallic.
Yeah. Because he's kind of like,
I feel great, and it's like.
He's come to terms with it.
Yeah. He managed to get over it. I did. As a kind of barometer, I text my friend from Tokyo, from Japan about this, and they're not from Tokyo, but it's like, you ever heard of this one? And they were just like, no.
And I was like, it probably is one of these things that's way more popular in the West, isn't it?
I can see that, yeah. But then again, it's a thing that's popular among people that watch this channel, or film people, or whatever. So I say, I always saw this and Body Hammer in the in the World Cinema section when I was off getting my kind of Takeshi Kitano movies or whatever. And I always thought like, maybe next time. And then video shops closed forever.
It never happened.
And then it never happened, because I would have got this on tape, you know.
Yeah. I think it's also quite timeless in a way because it's 1989, but it doesn't really look like it. But at the same time, it does. Like it's the techniques and the look of it makes it look older.
It's of that. It's very much of that era, isn't it? It's the kind of thing you would see on Channel 4 late at night then. But apart from that, because you know, okay, there are CRT TVs in it, right? Yeah. But that plays into its whole. That doesn't necessarily date it because it's part of its old techno.
It's definitely part of the aesthetic, and it wouldn't be as good with like a flat panel like LCD.
Yeah, it just right. Well, it's the same with like Videodrome, right? Like if it was like a
crap with like a 4K telly, like
60 frames a second, 4K, and it's like I don't want that. I want a grimy, creepy sort of glass magnified screen.
Exactly.
My dad, like this is a non sequitur, but this show's all about that. My dad had like a really stingy friend, right? And like when you went round his house, he'd make you put money in the meter if you're going to watch TV and stuff like that.
Seriously?
And, yeah. But he was like one of my dad's beloved friends. He passed away, but it's still quite funny. The CRT TVs, they used to sell like these magnifier screens to make it look bigger, so a big glass thing. So he had quite a small dog. And he kept it in a doghouse in the front garden, and he put the magnifier screen in the window, so it made the dog look bigger.
Oh, in the window?
Yeah.
So everything
so
outside.
the doghouse had a window.
Oh, I see.
So when you looked into the dog, it magnified the dog to make the dog look bigger. So he even got more bang for his dog buck.
But I also like the concept that dogs are like, the price of a dog's based on the size of it.
Like it's pound for pound, like a golden retriever.
They just weigh it out like by bacon or something.
Just cut a bit off. I don't want all of it.
Just £2.
I just need the front legs.
I'll put a mirror and a magnifier so it looks really huge and it's got 4
money saving tips from McDonald's. That is. Anyway, CRT TVs. It's not particularly dated. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't make itself busy with current affairs. Yeah. You don't really see the outside is deliberately kind of obfuscated. You don't see the outside world particularly because you just race through it, you know, you kind of push through it at high pressure. And everything else takes place indoors, and it's all about kind of iron and construction materials and pipes and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, we were saying before this, I mean, obviously there's probably people watching that have seen the subsequent films. To me, it seems like a body hammer. To me, it seems like, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to know what people's thoughts are, but it seems like the second one, with the fact that it's got a higher budget and it's all shot in colour, it may be, I'm imagining it might not have quite the same timeless vibe. You know what I mean? Like, there's something about shooting a film in this way that kind of removes it from all that. And I think you made a comparison earlier between like Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2.
Exactly, yeah. Because I think like, we've got more money now, so let's just do it again. Yeah,
the second one seems to be sort of a kind of a retelling or kind of.
I mean, I think the plot is different, but it's.
It's kind of like Evil Dead 2, right? Like, and I get that, because I think to compare this to say Evil Dead 1, which is kind of the scrappy, and this is also like you often hear with kind of young directors, particularly in those days, particularly shooting on film, and much like Duncan Casey's new film Witches, that was made over a couple of years, and this was made over a couple of years.
Type of deal. It's just, I mean, I think basically the director kind of did most of it. It was basically a one-man show.
Everybody hates him as well.
Yeah, because there were other people working on it who left because they got fed up.
Because he was awful to work for.
So he just did everything apart from the acting.
Yeah.
In fact, he's the metal fetchist, isn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, he's the metal fetchist.
So he's even in it. Yeah.
Which must be even harder because then you have to have someone operating the camera and whatnot. There's some quite because it's a blend of film techniques and video techniques as well, I should say. Yeah. There's a shot I really liked where there's a shot of a display, and it goes to static, and then the metal fetishist face comes in front of the display, and then a layer of static comes in front of that. Yeah. So I think that's 3 elements lined up. And there must be some element of video mixing in this. I don't know if it was tele-cined and then edited on tape. I have no idea. I was looking at it because it's so frantically edited, and something like this is made in editing. Because if you took all of those rushes in a pile, you'd just be like, "What the fuck is this? What is it?" But because of its sound design and its edits and stuff, I was looking. Did you ever edit 60mm film at uni? No. Right, I did 60mm film on a Steenbeck. Right, it was really cool. It was really cool. I'd eat a handful of my own shit before I made a film on 60mm again, but probably about that. But editing, we edited like a narrative thing, 10 minutes on a Steenbeck, and it was really, really cool. Right. But ours was like shot, reverse shot, wide shot, right, this is ding, 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 ding,
Yeah,
ding,
it
ding.
must have taken a hell of a long time.
Well, I wonder if it is because of the video effects that come into it. I think it was probably telecinied and cut on video. I don't know. Someone out there will know, or at least sections of it were kind of processed in that way, some kind of chemical process. I don't know because she kind of basic. I've shot colour film as well. I'd rather eat handfuls of my own shit with nails in than shoot colour film again, or at least as a kind of, you know, that was actually my Hearts of Darkness. It was one of the most traumatic weeks of my life.
Yeah.
Because it's just awful. And it's great if you're Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan, you have a billion people to run around and do it all for you. Because I don't think those bastards are holding the light meter. But anyway, digital. Yeah, I think whatever the editing in this, it must have been really intensive and really laborious because it's the whole film. This is a film that's made in its edits. Again, if
you couldn't recut it because you wouldn't do like a director's cut. He's the director. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, oh, there's extra footage.
Yeah, like so many movies you watch now, it's like, hey, it's 3 hours long because we just left everything in. And this is the complete antithesis of that, isn't it? It's like, it's to the point, it's just as long as it needs to be, and it's just finely honed.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, you know, Apocalypse Now just had another cut.
Another
final cut.
How many is that?
Because the Redux one put in like, what, an hour or 20 more, and now the final cut takes another 40 odd minutes out. And it's just like, yeah.
Which is good, but I don't know, I find these days everything's a fucking redux. Like every movie's 3 hours long.
But H Bomber Guy just did a quite good video about director's cuts,
right.
Which is worth watching, and he talks about that quite well. And there are certain things, because this is a discussion we've had a bunch of time about director's cuts and extra footage. There's no room in this.
No.
There's no room in this. It's such a tightly honed little thing. You might, you know, if you don't watch it and don't like it, you know, it doesn't have any meaning, it bores you, fine, but the editing is incredible. You know, and I shudder to think how much they had to work with initially.
Yeah.
You know, it's a slightly troubling thought, but there you go.
I can tell it's like a proper labour of love type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's made all your friends hate you. You know, but fuck it, right? Unlike this show, which is very lazily and sloppily produced by me. Right, well, that's. I think that's it for Tetsuo Iron Man.
Yeah, not Body Hammer.
Oh yeah, Body Hammer. So we're done. That's it for this. We'll be back with some more. We're going bleak for the next 2 episodes.
Super bleak.
Super bleak. So that's going to be fun. So that's it. We are on now. I did this last episode. I'm going to try it again. Redbubble, Patreon, PayPal, Amazon affiliate link. I forgot that. Facebook, Twitter. I've got like a personal Instagram, but there's not a Val Verde one because fuck that, right? That's your lot. So tatty bye. See you next time.
Bye.
Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Val Verde Shop.